And so I kind of want to take us back in history a little bit and show that this is not a new event. This is not a new byproduct of modern society. And I'd like to use an event that most people are familiar with, but probably know very little about the real history of. And that's Friday the 13th. And this is a day known by most people as something that's very spooky or has some strange, negative, dark connotations to it. But I think if we look at the origin story of Friday the 13th, we can see some of these societies, one very prominent society at the time, having a very public historic event that is allows for conjecture or speculation to be put aside, because we actually see that history has played out. Can Walter, can you give us a little background on the real story behind Friday the 13th?
Well, there was a man who was called Desmoulins, and this particular individual came into conflict with the French government. And they belonged to a secret society which was called the Knights Templars. And these people had amassed huge fortunes and tremendous power by starting basically what is today the modern banking system, with its interest and all of these issues designed to create wealth. And once this organization had succeeded in gaining power over the wealth of not only the nobility, but basically over the entire populace, including governments and kings and rulers, then it came to the point where this organization was demonized, rightly or wrongly, by the French government, and Desmoulins was sentenced to death. And this date on which these events took place became a very prominent feature in secret societies. And today, that day is, shall we say, celebrated, or shall we say remembered with regret by calling it a day of bad luck, depending from which side you are coming, whether you are coming from the light side or the dark side. And yes, Friday the 13th becomes sort of entrenched in the minds of people. It's interesting, if you get onto an aeroplane, there is no row 13. So people are afraid of that number, and some people embrace that number. Well, it is a fact of history that these organizations didn't just disappear overnight, but morphed and were represented by other organizations and incorporated and expanded. And all that happened was that something that was a little bit more visible became a little bit more invisible.
Okay, so we see a connection here to a secret society with this very prominent date that everybody at least has heard of or knows as bad luck, not necessarily knowing the history. But like you said, what was the specific event that happened on Friday the 13th?
It was the execution of Desmoulins. Now, if you go into a secret society like Freemasonry, for instance, they have a youth brigade which is called the Desmoulins. Now, why would they use that name so prominently? And why would such high-ranking politicians actually be involved in something like this? It is well known that a president such as Bill Clinton was very prominent in the Desmoulins movement, which is the youth movement of Freemasonry. So if these people were had such negative connotations, then why do societies today still employ that name and run their youth brigades under that banner?
Well, and obviously if they have that name and it's under that banner, then they know the history behind that date and that name as well.
Absolutely, and this is how you follow the clues. It's like, it's like a quest game.
A very, very tricky quest game.